Like many of you, I had to work through college, and my job of choice was retail. And retail is a unique opportunity to learn about people, is it not? You get people on their good days and on their bad days, and you can have a good day and bad day, and you get to have these really fun interactions. And one that I remember, like it happened yesterday, is I was in the store and I was working in the shoe section, and I was about to help these ladies. And they came in the store and they were laughing and they were having a great time. One was an older gal. She had a handful of bags. They had clearly been shopping. And then she was with who I think was her daughter and her daughter's friend. And they were just yucking it up and having fun. And I thought, oh, this is great. And so they were looking at a pair of shoes. I went in the back and I got them for her. And I came back and it was customary. And I just said, hey, sat down in front of her, can I help you with your shoe? And she did something very interesting. She stuck her foot in my face, right here, and she said, do your job, boy. And I thought, this feels terrible. Got a lot of different ways I could respond to this. And what I realized is that interacting with people, these kinds of things are going to happen. You know, she didn't know what she was doing. Maybe she did. But I felt undignified. I didn't feel appreciated. It's kind of like somebody chips you or cracks you when that kind of thing happens. Where they come up to you and they treat you like you're less than you deserve to be treated because you're human. And I definitely felt that way. And I look around and I see that that's the case kind of all around, where people feel as if they're being objectified. And so what happens? They shout because they don't feel like they're being heard. And some people, in an effort to protect other people, will tell people to not say anything because people are hurting and we don't want to hurt them further. And in our best efforts, we want to make sure that people are okay because we know it's not good to be cracked. It's not good to feel objectified. We don't want that for those around us. And it could be that you remember a time when somebody objectified you. You see, in our best moments, we want to help people to not feel that way. But oftentimes what happens is we become the people who then crack and chip other people. We become the very thing that we hate. We say, you can't treat people like that. But in order to make sure that somebody's not treated that way, we treat somebody else that way. And the cycle goes on and on and on. And sometimes you won't know that people are cracked. They just leak. You ever seen a cup that you can't see the crack in, but you look down and there's evidence that what's inside is on the countertop? It's just like that. And what happens is that we leak all over each other. And we crack and we dent and we chip each other. And it makes it really hard to be together. So what do we do? What do we do when we're so concerned about how people are being hurt and being objectified and being cracked? I think the answer is dignity. Dignity, human dignity, means that every single human being is of inestimable worth, precious beyond measure. And that people are like that. And because they're like that, it means that it doesn't matter where they're from, doesn't matter what language they speak, doesn't matter who they voted for. It doesn't matter if they're American or Canadian. It matters that they're human. And Donna Hicks likes to say, dignity is the higher common good. It's true of every single one of us. So in order to try to understand dignity a little bit better, I think it's helpful to look back at medieval Japan. And you may not think that medieval Japan is the place to look for dignity, and in many ways it probably isn't. But there's a story about the tea ceremony in Japan and where it originates. And of course it's a story, so I can't verify with certainty that this is factual, but this is what people talk about when they talk about the tea ceremony originating. It was during the shogunate when shoguns ruled Japan. And there was a shogun named Yoshimasa. And he liked tea. And he liked it so much that he had his favorite teacup. Now, you may not relate to that, or maybe you really like tea, but what you can think about is, do you have a favorite drinking implement? Maybe it's a big metal thing that you carry around with you, or maybe a big plastic thing with lumpy things on it. People love having their own thing, and they think that everything tastes better when it comes from this thing. Well, this is what he had. It's called a tenmoku cup. And he had one that he thought was the greatest. And in some form of tragedy, whether it was him or somebody else, his cup broke. And he was devastated. And you may think, well, why would you be devastated about that? And it's because he saw that cup as precious and as one of a kind and irreplaceable, maybe. So he did what you would do at the time. The best ceramicists were in China, so he sent the cup to China to be repaired. And the best they could do was to take these different parts of the cup and take wire and kind of knit them together. Sew them together with wire. But the cup in the end then winds up looking a little bit like Frankenstein's monster, with some wires and some bolts or something sticking out. And so the cup comes back from China. He gets excited. He opens it up and he sees his cup. And he's enraged. This is not what I had in mind for you to fix my cup. So the Japanese ceramists, who were not as good as the Chinese at the time, decided that they would give it a try. And they took the cup and they took it apart, and they did something absolutely genius. They got some sap from a tree, and they used it as glue. And this is the most amazing thing. They sprinkled gold into the glue so that when the cracks came together, there was a vein of gold in the cup. We know that as golden joining, or the art of kintsugi now, where you can take something that's broken and put it together with gold and create something even more beautiful than before. Yoshimasa gets his cup back, and he's elated. And he holds it up and he says, this is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. It's even more priceless than before. So what does this have to do with dignity? All of us are cracked, and all of us are precious. All of us are like this precious cup. It's not so much what's in us, but it's who we are. And if there is a way for us to interact with one another so that we put each other together with gold, instead of taking something precious and, oh, it's broken, we just sweep it up and throw it out. If we can learn how to do that, we can learn how to teach people how to become more than they think they could be. And just like the phoenix from the ashes, they can rise. And the way that we do this is we start with empathy. What's it like to be you? How can I sit in someone else's shoes when in fact they're sticking their foot in your face and you're going, man, that's not very cool of you? How can I learn what it means to be you? What's gone on in their day? I think about that gal today and I think, well, I would ask her a bunch of questions. Are you having fun today? Yeah, tell me why you chose the shoe. I would ask a lot of questions, and I would try to see what it means to be her. We can also have curiosity. Chris Voss, who is a former FBI negotiator, he says something really important. He says, curiosity and anger cannot coexist. And I appreciated that because what that means is that someone may treat us poorly. Maybe they crack us and they chip us. Well, if I choose to be curious, I can overcome my anger and my pain. And in the series Ted Lasso, we know there's a quote that says, Walt Whitman says, be curious, not judgmental. It's super important. We can ask people, help me understand where you're coming from. What's it like to be you? What's brought you here today? We can ask a number of questions that allow our curiosity to create less distance between us and the other person. And finally, we need to have what's called the MRI, the most respectful interpretation. And this is challenging. I'm not saying it's easy. What's the most respectful interpretation I can have of somebody's behavior? So when somebody's acting out, they're leaking all over the place, they're being rude, whatever, however you want to describe it, I can say, well, help me understand, what's the most respectful interpretation of their behavior? I learned this on an airplane when I heard a baby crying like crazy. And I thought, man, why is that kid so loud? What's going on? And a nurse told me that babies frequently have congestion. And during takeoff and landing, the pressure builds. And they cry because they don't know when the pain is going to stop. And I thought, man, that's a way better way to think about this than just, man, why don't you be quiet? So empathy and curiosity and the most respectful interpretation allow us to be with people in a way, even when they've harmed us, to start bringing together the broken places and doing it in a beautiful way. Because nobody cracks the same way, and because of that, nobody heals the same way. And what that means then is that as we go about this, each one of us is actually a one of a kind. Precious, beautiful, masterpiece. And that's what dignity looks like. I want to take you back to the woman who stuck her foot in my face. I'd like to say that I behaved with dignity. And I guess on one hand I did. I didn't yell at her. I didn't throw her out of the store. I said, man, are you serious? And she kind of looked at me and I said, I work for minimum wage in a mall while I'm going to school. And she tried to apologize and I said, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. Finished her with her shoes, got her checked out, ushered her out of the store. And I wish I could go back. I really do, because I missed it. I missed an opportunity to treat her leaking, to walk alongside her and her brokenness. I missed that chance. And I wish I could go back so that I could apply what I know differently now. And I actually missed even a bigger opportunity. Because the power of dignity is so great that when we express it and validate it for those around us, we actually heal ourselves. You see, if I'm going to treat somebody with dignity, then my own dignity gets validated. And a little bit of gold sprinkles and a little bit of sap sprinkles, and my cracks get filled. And I missed an opportunity to heal even myself during that interaction. You see, the power of dignity means that we can be broken and we don't have to be ashamed of it. You don't have to hide your crack. You don't have to hide your chips. You don't have to do that. Because it's going to become something beautiful if we allow it. And we can become something like the phoenix that rises out of ashes and move from a brokenness to beauty and from disintegrated to dignity. And I believe with all my heart that dignity isn't just an idea we're spreading. It's a life worth living.